and thank you for coming out to this first of our professional development series for the 2023-24 school year. And our first guest is Dr. Myra Rhoden. And Dr. Rhoden is the Director of Bands at Fayette County High School in Fayetteville, Georgia. And Dr. Rhoden, you're a member of the Bandmasters Association, right?
Yes, was just elected a couple of months ago.
Yes, and one of the very few women who are in that prestigious organization. And you've played at our state professional conference and
Yes.
have led premier bands at several events like that and had a very successful band career so far, despite being a woman. So we're going to talk about that today, I think. Yes.
All right. Yes.
All right, here we go.
All right. So thank you for being here today. Just like she said, we're going to talk a little bit about perspectives of being a band director who happens to be a woman at the same time. So let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. Uh-oh. So I always like quotes. Let's have a little food for thought. So Maya Angelou said, I've learned that people forget what you said, people forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I guess that's as any band director, course teacher, elementary orchestra teacher, you always remember how people made you feel welcome or not, how people treated you as a student, how people treat you as a professional. So we just want to make sure we think about that as we look to our own students and our own colleagues in our profession. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about me, and this is because I want you to see where I'm coming from with some of the ideas that I'm giving you today. So I'm from Tuskegee, Alabama, which we call it the pride of the swift growing South. Historic Tuskegee with Tuskegee Institute, Tuskegee University, Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver, all the scientists there. Also the Tuskegee syphilis study. Of course, was there. Tuskegee Airmen. So I grew up around a lot of history. History was what we did there. We lived it every single day. And it was just something that was instilled in us as we were growing up. I'm in my 30th year of teaching. It went really, really fast. I can't believe it's gone by this fast. But I've taught in rural, urban, and suburban schools. So the urban school district was in Alabama. The rural district also was in Alabama. And I'm teaching, of course, in the suburbs of Atlanta here at Fayette County High School. And so one thing I've learned about all three places is that the kids are the same everywhere. It's just that the what surrounds them when they go home is a little bit different. Just to give you an idea, when I taught in the urban school district in Alabama, I had kids who had never left their side of town, never left their neighborhood. When we got on a bus to go and see my good friend, Demondre Thurman, who is a world-renowned euphonium player, his group Soda Voce, when they were just starting out, performed on the other side of town. I bussed up my kids. We went over there, and I had students who actually thought we had left the city to go into another city when we were just on the other side of town because they had stayed in their neighborhood. The rural places, place where I've taught as a high school band director, of course, you have Friday night games. My kids could not stay, could not go home on the bus because by the time they got their home, it would be too late to come back. So, they're riding an hour one way on a bus to get home and to school every day. So those things you have to think about there. Of course, I have my suburban kids now. I have kids who travel internationally, for summer. They spend the summer taking trips and going overseas to watch soccer games. And it's just a little crazy about some of the things that they get to do. But at the end of the day, the students, the young ladies and the gentlemen that I have taught, they're all the same. They all want to be cared about and they all want to learn. In 2008, I founded the Athena Music and Leadership Camp, which is basically a training ground for young ladies in band who would like to learn more about leadership, we're the only music and leadership camp exclusively for girls that we know. We're just celebrating year 15 on our anniversary, so we're excited about that. Also, during the pandemic, I founded the Association of Black Women Band Directors, and that came from a Zoom, just a Facebook group, actually. And the catalyst was actually the murder of George Floyd, when we knew we're going to see our students. And we, of course, as women, are the nurturers, just by nature. And we were going to have to deal with our students coming in and viewing basically a murder on television and on social media. They have access to so much. So we came together to try to figure out what we can do as women to help all of those kids that are going to be around us. And of course, there are not very many band directors, especially high school band directors, that look like me. And so it was great to connect with these women across the country. Right now, we have about 250 that we have found at the elementary, middle school, high school, and collegiate level, and it's less than 15 at the collegiate level, believe it or not. So it's actually great to be able to connect. And I am, this is kind of important too, married with one son, because one thing that I hear is, women who are a little concerned about balancing home with career life. And so I've done it. I've done it for almost 30 years now. And I like to think pretty successfully. So here are a few other fun facts about me. It wasn't until my senior year of high school that I saw a band director who was a woman. And so I don't know how many people can say that now. It's gotten much, much better, but I'd never seen one before. So I didn't have that role model of other than a band director who was male that I could look for. But my freshman year of college, it was my first time attending class with a person of a different race. And I thought that was quite interesting, because sometimes we have, if we're the only person that looks like us in the room, or the only person of our gender in the room, then sometimes that can be a little uncomfortable. So I've been through that as well. And it wasn't until my first year teaching that I actually saw a band director who looked like me. So I had gone over 20 years of my life, and I'd never seen a band director at any level who actually looked like me, even though I'd gone through high school, gone through college, all of the things. And it wasn't until I started teaching. And so hopefully now, as women, we try to find ways to be present so young girls can see people who look like them in positions that they would love to have. So this is where we have a little participation here. So I'm going to say a couple of things, and I would love for you to unmute yourselves if you can, and say, what do you think of when I say the following? Okay, so do you think of it, this person, as a male or female, or just what do you think? Okay, college professor.
I feel like for me, oh, I'm sorry. I know for me personally, I've kind of had like an even split. Like I think, which is kind of unique, especially graduating from Georgia College. I had an even split. I had Dr. Horgan, I had Dr. Tolbert, but I also had like Dr. Towner and Dr. Johnson when he was still there. So I kind of had like an even split of male and female professors. But I do know, stereotypically, most people think white older man when it comes to college professor.
All right. Anyone else?
No, I was going to say the same thing. Typically, it's the old white guy in a tweed jacket, and yeah.
All right. What about pilot?
Probably the same.
Yeah, probably.
Male.
What about orchestral conductor?
The orchestral conductor at Georgia College, prior to Dr. Hall, who was our current person, is Dr. McLean, and he's a very tall black gentleman. And so we were, in our recent experience here, we would have to go from white guy to black guy to, I think our current guy is Persian. So yeah, but it's all guys.
I was about to say the same. Mostly male. I would even say Asian descent
Ah,
for orchestral.
okay.
I've only been exposed to white males for orchestral director.
All right. So I'm gonna name the rest of these off, and not necessarily who you've seen or who you've been exposed to, but what is the first image that pops in your mind? All right. Elementary school teacher.
Young woman.
With her hair in a ponytail.
And very energetic.
Yes.
All right. Doctor.
Older white man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lawyer.
Middle-aged
Older
white
white.
man.
There you go. Yeah, middle-aged white man.
All right. So we're still the only one so far that you've said as far as a woman would be elementary school teacher. All right. What about a coach?
A man.
Heavy set man.
Heavy,
Man.
yeah, heavy set man.
All right. What about the CEO of a company?
Man.
Man, older, usually.
All right. What about senator?
Old white man.
Or it could be woman.
Okay. All
Older
right.
woman.
What if I say basketball player? First
Middle
thing that
age,
comes to mind.
middle age to younger African American or black
Yep.
guy.
African American boys. Men.
Boys. All right. What about superintendent?
Oh, well, in
First
my
thing that comes
case,
to
powerful black woman.
mind. So
But
you would say a woman. Is it Tashea?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. What do you think? We say superintendent, male or female?
I would say both because male majority.
Okay. Choral director.
Woman.
Okay. Band director.
Man.
And
man, unfortunately.
Okay. So we have some biases ourselves, right? You know, when you say these things and you think these things, but there might be a little bit of fact behind it. So if you look at the next screen, there's a little bit of data here. So only 37% of women are doctors, doctors are women. 38% of lawyers, 35% of corporate executives, 29% members of Congress. Of course, we've not yet had a woman to be president, right? 13% of composers, 10% of Fortune 500 company CEOs, only 5% of pilots are women, and even less are music producers, only 2%. So let's talk about what we do for a living. 76% of public school teachers are women, but only 55% are principals, and even less are superintendents. So we go from the majority of women being teachers, but the majority of those in charge are men. What do you think about it?
Dr. Rhoden, don't let me push you ahead if you're getting to this, but could this go back to that perception of what women are supposed to do in terms of home-life balance? That, if we get in too far into a profession, then we aren't doing what we should do for our families?
I think some people do think that. I even have people that approach me like, how in the world did you, balance a marriage and having a child and being a high school band director at the same time? So it could be. It could be. Corey, Tashea, what do you all think about those statistics?
I think it does go back to the stereotypes that women should be like the homemaker, that should be at home with the children. Because in my career so far, I like my coworker is a female band director, and like we've had conversations about, not only is it that she's discriminated against basically because she's usually the only woman in the room, that she's also the only black woman in the room. So and I know even at our job now, like a lot of times people assume that I'm the band director and that she's the choral director just because of usual reverse roles. And I have to explain all the time, like, no, I'm the choral director and she's the band director. But I do believe it does come from like the stereotype that women should be in certain professions.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just to piggyback off of him, I agree to that. And it just stems from like the equality of women and taking leadership of their careers. You know, they don't expect us to be in these leadership type roles. So that's why a lot of women probably don't even think about going the next step.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
Shay, you're a band director, right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a middle school band director in Georgia.
Yeah, so you've experienced it too, huh?
Yeah, I think in my county is only three of us, Black African American female band directors. The rest are black males or white males.
Are you at all of the females at the middle school level, or some of you at the high school level?
It's two of us in middle school right now and one at the high school.
Outstanding.
But it's two other white high school female band directors. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. So if you look at the slide, thinking about what you just said, 28% of band directors in the country are women. And you would think that number is actually going up, but it's actually been pretty steady over the last 10 to 15 years. It hasn't gone up. It hasn't gone down either. So think about the number of girls in your band programs right now. But 70% of the band directors are male. So why do all of these girls who are in our programs, and I'm sorry, Corey, I don't have statistics for chorus because that might be a little bit different for chorus, but you have all of these girls in the programs, but only 70%, of their band directors are male. It seems to me that it should be almost around the same. 30% of middle school band directors are women, 20% of high school directors, and 10% of college directors. That one has increased from about 5% over the last 10 years. So those are the statistics. Everybody else is male, at least on the band side of things. I would, I don't know this, but I'm thinking in the choral world, it may be a little bit different as far as having more women, which is probably why they're surprised that you are the chorus teacher. Right. So we get it on this side and you all get it on that side. So just a couple of fun facts about that. So I don't know if you're able to do this while you're on Teams, if you are on a phone, but have you ever done a Google search for these things and tell me what you see? So if you do a Google search for section leader right now, what do you see?
Let's see. For like the images.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, I actually see some female
I
section leaders.
see. Yeah,
But I will say
female.
the first thing that comes up is section leader band. Like that's like the first one that comes up.
Right.
The second one I've got is actually a black woman or a black girl. So, but that may be because we're talking about it.
Right.
Yeah, because it's always they're always listening, right? So, so what about band director? Google band director and see what happens.
The first one,
Mostly male or
males.
Male.
all male,
I
mostly
see.
males. And sorry.
I was just saying I see different races of males.
I do see
Yeah.
some female, but majority are male.
And so the women that you see probably they're in the news because they were the first to do XYZ. So, Emily
Yeah.
might be there. Yeah. So if they're there, that's usually why, as opposed to just, a photo. What about professor? So we talked about that. If you just Google the word professor, what comes up?
It's mostly men.
Yeah, mostly men of various races. I don't, I
Mhm.
do one out of, what's that,
I see
5?
a couple of women.
Yeah, I've got 1 out of 10 on my first screen that's actually a woman. Of course, she's sitting crisscross applesauce in front of a whiteboard. She's not in a position of power.
Right.
Ah,
And the title for
okay.
that says how to become a college professor.
So yeah, she's not necessarily a college professor. She's helping others.
Okay. What about superintendent?
I see actually my first 3 results are women and 1 black man. Oh, and I see my
Okay.
superintendent which I mean, that's probably because, you know, the Atlanta Public School superintendent is all in the news right now.
Right, right.
I see 2 white females, 1 black female, and a black man.
So if you continue to scroll down, is it mostly women or mostly men?
It's a good mixture.
Yeah, it's actually a good
Good
mixture on
mix.
mine as well.
What did Corey
Okay.
say earlier? Strong Black women.
Right. Yeah, like, and that's because like I know with our superintendent, like she has like basically transformed our whole district. So she does have a lot of community support, but unfortunately our Board of Education did not renew her contract, which everybody has their own opinion as to why, but I personally like her.
I got another one for you. Instrument maker.
These are all old white men. I don't mind.
Mhm. A
Yeah.
couple of women in there. A couple of women in there. But you know, that's something that our kids could learn how to do, our hands-on students, you know. And so why did I ask you to do this? Because when your students Google these things, this is what they see. So what
Mhm.
if you had a student who wanted to be an instrument maker, a composer, or a professor? You know, depending on the child and how strong-willed they are, you know, they may look at these images or not and determine what they can and cannot do as a profession. And so we just talked about that in the previous one, right? You know, women aren't, you know, these gender roles are here for whatever reason they are, and maybe that's why, you know, ladies don't become, you know, some of the things that we're seeing. So let me make sure. Let's talk about microaggressions a little bit. And so this might be a little touchy, but I like to start with a definition: a statement, action, or incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against a member of a marginalized group. In this case, women, right? And so we want to make sure that all of us, women included, because we have microaggressions too, that we don't display those things. You know, sometimes you can say, you know, we're all grown here, right? Telling the girls and not the boys to control their emotions. You know, that's a microaggression. You know, saying, oh, it must be that time of the month. Or here's one that we probably say and or that we've been the recipient of, and you might not even realize it's a microaggression. You should smile more. You know, do you tell the guys you should smile more? Or do you just say that to girls or women? Just something to think about. Those of us who are in the band world, you know, placing genders on instrument selection. You know, playing tuba, playing trombone. What are you talking about? You're so small. You should play the flute. You should play the clarinet. Just something to think about. I've heard people say that they hate having females as principals, or they hate having women as superintendents, even because they're so emotional. You know, so not accepting women in leadership roles. Um, that's a microaggression. Asking ladies to take notes in meetings. You know, if you're going to ask people to take notes, ask anyone or leave it open, but not necessarily going to the one lady who may be in the room, which has happened to me multiple times. And say, hey, can you take notes for us? No, I can't. Sorry. Or telling your girls or women, be careful what you wear because you know how boys are. You know, are you
I,
shaming the girls for their outfits? Yeah, look, Tina.
sorry, I had that, but not in that way. So when
Ah,
I was first a band director, the coordinator of fine arts for the county spent some time in one of our pre-service meetings talking about what female conductors should wear on the podium, and did not spend any time on the fact that half of the guys were wearing tuxedos that might have fit in college but did not fit anymore. And so we had the open, you know, the pleat in the back was completely open because they were trying to wear something that didn't fit. But by all means, let's talk about whether I wear a dress or pants.
exactly. Exactly. You know, let's talk about everybody as opposed to just one gender. So absolutely. And then shaming your girls, you know, as opposed to correcting the behavior of the people who are being inappropriate, you know. So we have to explore why information about microaggressions can be a little upsetting to some people when you talk about them, and it might be because you're stepping on toes, right? And characterizing women, you know, sometimes that express strength they're considered mean or cold or aggressive or, the B word, when they're just doing the strength and exhibiting strength that if a male did it, it wouldn't be a problem. So any thoughts about that?
I would definitely like to echo that last statement. I have to like I don't feel like I go to like have to go to bat for her, but I feel like I often defend my band director colleague because she gets typecast as cold, off-putting, the B word, and I'm just like, if that was anybody else, y'all wouldn't say that about her. Like she has to like I want to say she almost has to be that way to prove the point that one, that she knows what she's talking about, and two, that she is an expert in her field and knows she's not overly emotional. If she says something, chances are it's because you're stupid and she's right. Like like I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but I feel like there's a lot of times and a lot of stigma that comes along with that, and I've seen it firsthand, like with her. And it's gotten to the point now where I'm kind of confused by it. I'm like because this isn't like her first year at our school, but she keeps getting the constant like same comments over and over and over. And like you said about the microaggressions for like, oh well, there's a female leader. Like our school specifically voted to have a male principal versus any qualified principal, which I thought was kind of insane because in my experience, and this is just from the 8 years I've been teaching now, I've had better success and outcomes with women principals in general. So I don't really see the, oh well, male principals are better in this perspective. Maybe that's just because I've been able to understand them better and I feel like they were more consistent. But maybe just because they were just better leaders overall. That's how I honestly really just see it.
I actually have to take time in pre-service education classes to address this. So I do tell my lady pre-service teachers that being called the B word is just the price we pay for being successful women. When they say that they just mean that you're doing something that I don't know how to do, and it makes me jealous. But I don't have to do that with my male teachers or pre-service teachers.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Tashaya?
I would just like to say I haven't really experienced too much microaggression going into my third year. I just know whenever they see Black women in charge, they get intimidated. And I spent my 2 years as a teacher under two different Black female principals. So it's been up and down. It hasn't been too bad.
Yeah.
I'm interested, I'm sorry if I can, and just tell me if I'm going too far off track, but I'm interested in the intersection between race and gender here because I am a very small white woman, and I found when I was a band director that I had coworkers and parents and others who thought they were going to intimidate me, physically and whatever. They were going to come in and tell me what to do. And if you know me, that's not going to work. But I wonder size size and race and gender, all of those things, or if it was just because I was a woman.
I don't know. I guess it's kind of hard, if to put yourself in someone's shoes if you're not that, so it's kind of hard for me sometimes to know what a male band director is thinking about, because I haven't been a male band director before. So I got that too, to the point that I have had to have what do you call the order where someone can't come near you, the restraining order. I've had to have that done before.
Yes,
way back when I first started teaching. Yeah.
It might not be race, it might just be gender then.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Or at that time it could have been youth. Sometimes people just think because you're young that you don't know what you're doing. And we may not, because when we first start teaching, we really don't know what we don't know. But how we present ourselves, how confident we are, I think that may have a lot to do with it too. So, people who don't exude that confidence, and I'm not sure if I did at that age, probably can be seen a little bit more as targets, as opposed to someone who does. And then the person who does, exudes the confidence, you get called the B word. So it's like, what, where's
Yes,
that balance there? Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you, Corey? Have you been called the B word or people tried to come in and just intimidate you for no reason?
I'll say as a gay man, they have definitely come at me in a weird way, but I guess I can't compare it to like the microaggressions that women receive because it's on a completely different level. I feel like both of them are definitely ingrained in American society, but I will definitely say as a man, I can guess put my foot down a little bit more, so to speak, and be like don't get it twisted, but I can definitely say that compared to what I've seen with my female colleagues, I can't complain, and I that's why I was quiet on this one.
Yeah.
My daughter always says, back it up now, don't go too far.
You know, I've seen it probably more with my students. Believe it or not, you know, I've had people to say to me, "Oh, you guys do really well, you know, for your clientele." You know, what does that mean? And so I'm the one that pushes back and goes, what are you talking about? Go ahead, explain yourself.
Yes, say it out
And then
loud.
of
Say it
course,
with your chest.
yeah, and then they kind of back up. Oh, well, that's not what I meant. Really? What did you mean?
No,
Well,
that's
why did it?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Why did it even come out of your mouth? You know, and we've had to deal with some racial things even within our own school system. You know, um, but as far as the women are concerned, you know, do your girls think about if you have section leaders or drum majors, you know, are they dealing with these same things that we as teachers are dealing with
I would like to
in
speak on that.
program? Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to reflect on my time in college being a woodwind captain, and we would have our section leader meetings and stuff. And oftentimes it didn't run as smoothly because everyone was taking the opinions of maybe the males or like the tuba section leader. It wasn't like equality as far as everybody voicing their opinion. Everybody looked towards the males versus me having all the ideas and, just trying to help everybody be together. So I
Hmm.
felt a lot of that as a college section leader. So yeah.
Yeah, and not trying to self promote or anything, but the Athena camp that I do, that's exactly why. You know, what we're trying to do there is teach the girls how to deal with what exactly you just talked about. And it actually came about because as I went out and did clinics and honor bands and things like that, I'd always have girls to come to me and say, "Are you really the high school band director? You know, are you really in charge? Yeah, you do marching band too? Yeah, I do all of that." And then they'll go, "Well, I am the section leader of the trumpet section and I'm the only girl and I'm scared to death like next year. How do I get the boys to follow me? How do I get the boys to listen to what I have to say?" And so we offer advice, but that's the whole reason that the camp is there, is so the girls can be around women who are true leaders in the profession, and so they can learn to do that. And then, you know, we have a college we bring in college kids for the same thing because they have the same issues, just as what you're saying. So hopefully that's our, you know, little take on trying to help fix that, if nothing else, than to give the women and the girls that that feeling of empowerment that they can actually do, you know, what we want them to do. So,
And
you know,
please,
we talked about, go ahead, Tina. Sorry.
I'm sorry, please promote that. That's why I asked you to do this.
Okay. All right. No problem at all. So why is acknowledging this important? You know, as teachers, our students will model what we model, right? And so if we talk about our principal and, "Oh, I don't like being, you know, led by a woman," you know, your kids will see that too. And so what will your student leaders who are girls, what do you think they're going to get from the rest of the group, regardless of if it's a girl or a boy? You know, girls give girls a hard time too. You know, women give women a hard time too. So it's all of us, it's not just the guys. And then sometimes we'll intentionally or unintentionally lower expectations for women and girls. And, you know, to share, that might be what you experience as section leader. You know, the expectations for your ideas and your leadership skills may have intentionally or unintentionally been lowered by the people who are around you. So because of that, your voice wasn't valued and you felt that. And I really hate that because it didn't have to be like that. So hopefully we
Right.
can make things better. Yeah. All right. So moving on as we move forward. So what are some of the things that we can do to make things better? So being mindful of your interactions with women, period, and recognizing that your students are gonna do, what you do. I when I do these sessions, I try not to focus on the negative things that's happened, as a director, but I can't share with you, we were at this major regional competition, marching band competition, and we were taking photos, and the photographer, who was male, said, "All right, I want the band director on this side and the color guard instructor and staff on this side." I was standing on the correct side. My male color guard instructor was standing on the other side. I think the assistant director was on the other side with him, and percussion instructor. So I didn't move. So he says it again, a little louder. "We want the band director to stand over here." And I'm like, okay. So he says it 3 times, and he points to me this time. And he says, "And my student said she is the band director." Like, they were like, "She is the band director." Like, why are you talking to her? And my son happened to be in the band at the time. And so afterwards, he comes to me and he says, "Does that happen to you a lot?" And of course, he's 14, 15 years old. He doesn't know. I don't, overshare with him. And so I said, "Yeah, that has happened on more than one occasion." And so because of that instance, my students started becoming aware of what was going on. At football games, of course, the referees will walk right past me, going to the assistant director or our announcer, who is male, and just assume that they are the band directors. And so I have yet to have, this is year 30, I've yet to have 1 year where I wasn't walked past to say, that person standing next to me was the head director. My entire career, except for one, when my assistant and I, who was male at the time, both were together, and someone said, "Which one of you is the band director?" And we looked at each other and said, "Progress." Progress. They didn't go straight to him like they always do. So, it does happen, but it's how you respond to it. Um, the people who are around me have a tendency to be a little protective, Corey, like you said you are. Um, and it's actually kind of nice, I think, but they see that people have those biases as well. And hopefully everybody is in that kind of situation where you have people who recognize it, on your behalf, and they can help you with that. So being mindful of your actions, just like that photographer needed to be mindful of his at the time. Recognize and appreciate quiet leadership in women and in girls. Sometimes because women are quiet, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not processing information, that they're not coming up with a plan, that they're not figuring things out. Sometimes you have those leaders around you that when they speak, everyone listens, right? They don't say much, but when they talk, everybody listens to what they have to do. And I've had students like that. There'll be leaders, and if they raise their hand to say something, the whole world shuts down and they're going to listen to what that person has to say. So not necessarily always assuming that women are going to be typical male, aggressive or this or that in order to be a leader. And then listening to women's voices. Sometimes our voices can be shut down, just like she said when she was drum major, how her voice was shut down. So regardless of how loud or quiet the women are around you may be, still listen to what they have to say. And the approaches may be totally different. Just a couple of other things. We all teach girls, approach and encourage the girls who have leadership potentials in your program. They're not always going to exhibit those masculine qualities. So look for those quiet leaders, and maybe those numbers that we talked about earlier will go up a little bit as far as the number of pilots and superintendents and principals and things like that. They can see themselves in those roles. Be intentional about including ladies on your leadership team, even at the very highest level in your student leadership team, and having your student leadership team reflect your program. Provide opportunities for your students to see women as leaders and as role models. Invite people into your band room, into your chorus room, to conduct, to adjudicate. We don't want them anymore to be like me. I didn't see a woman until my senior year of high school, and I had to go to an honor band to do that. It just so happened that she was conducting the honor band, and I was fortunate in college. I went to the University of Alabama. My marching band instructor was the first Division I NCAA marching band instructor who happened to be a woman in the country. And I didn't know it when I was in college. I just knew she was the band director. But it took me being in the college before I even saw a band director who happened to be a woman. So we don't want our kids to be that way, right? We have the Google search. You have to remember that as to what your kids are seeing, and being intentional about who you perform, your arrangements or compositions, not just for a novelty concert to say, oh, I'm having an all woman, and then you don't do it anymore. I'm kind of seeing that now, over the pandemic, and people, oh, I'm posting this program and posting this program, and then now they're posting their same programs and it's the same old thing right before. So just something to think about. And that's really all I had as far as my presentation today. So I appreciate you all being here. There's my Gmail account, and then we talked about athenacamp.com. I am going to be at GMEA this year, doing a session that Thursday, and it's going to be called Empowering Your Girls to Lead Through Music. And so it's basically talking about how to train the young women that you're in charge of, to help train them to become the leaders that we are. So any questions or any other thoughts about anything? It looks like Tina may have come off. I know she was moving in her daughter.
No, but I will say, this is something I've like worked really hard to be cognizant of and to like appreciate, because it wasn't until I had those initial conversations, because that was my first time working with a female band director. So I definitely did want to have her take on things, and then slowly but surely, like I just saw everything that she said just come to light. And I'm like, this is insanity. So yeah, this like I tried, like I know with the choral classroom, it's basically flipped. It's
Mhm.
basically the women take the lead, and it's the stereotypical, oh, it's like the woman choir director, oh, all the girls want to sing, and this, that, and the other. But
Mhm.
I still try to empower them or tell them, like, hey, you can still, be like the leaders of the classroom. You still can play the piano. If you want to play an instrument, definitely do that. And it doesn't have to be flute, clarinet, or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Tashay, any
Uh,
final thoughts from you? I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
yeah, Dr. Rhoden, I would just like to share this has been a great session. It really gave me insight into how females are, treated within this career. It really opened my eyes when I first became a female band director, because I noticed that it wasn't on a lot of us, especially in my county, here in Georgia. But it just gave me more of that power of knowing that I am one of the few that's actually being a band director, that's actually a female black director. And working with my feeder high school, she's also a female black high school band director. It's like teamwork, and it's just it's beautiful to see, because I grew up with a male director, and I didn't start band until high school. So that was a black male band director in high school. And then when I got to college, another black male. So it's
Mhm.
just beautiful to see. And I'm glad to be a part of this. And I'm learning as I go. I'm just growing into this professionalism. And yeah, just appreciate for everyone and everybody that I've come into, make connections with, and learned on the way.
So what school system do you teach in?
Richmond County in
Richmond.
Augusta.
Okay. Okay. You're not far from us. I'm in Fayetteville, Georgia.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
missed
So
the beginning part of the session, so I apologize.
yeah, no, I'm just south of Atlanta. So Fayette is, if you don't know where Fayette is, it's between Clayton County and Noonan or Coweta County. So we're straight south from the airport.
Okay. I'm familiar.
Yeah. So that's
Nice.
where we are. And then
I'll
Corey's.
also be at GMEA this year too.
Okay. All right. Well,
So I
hope
look
y'all can
forward
make
to
it.
seeing those PLs as well.
I definitely
Yeah.
will be there this year. I've taken a break these last couple of years, so I definitely will be back this year.
I missed last year myself. Yeah, yeah. But like you said, there's not many of us, and one thing that you'll find out about me is I don't really share a lot of the things that happen that, sometimes I think I might be a little naive. I think sometimes people will do or say things not necessarily because I'm a woman or because I'm a Black woman. It's just because and it could be because of how we were raised in Tuskegee. Today I'm from Tuskegee, Alabama, and we were always told you can do whatever you want, you can be whatever you want, nobody can stop you. And so it never occurred to me that I couldn't be a band director. It never occurred to me that people would say things to me because I'm a woman. And so I'm thinking they're just saying it just because, like Corey so eloquently said, because they're stupid or whatever. So, but it wasn't until I look back and I'm like, oh, well, maybe they did think that because I was a girl, or maybe they did think that because I was a woman. So, but I've never used things as an excuse to not do a good job. Right. And so, if someone said my band was bad, you know, they're probably not saying that because I'm a woman. They're probably saying it because the band sounds bad. So what am I going to do to make that better? So it's all about coming up with, problem solving skills is what I call it. I find that sometimes a lot of people want to use excuses that, oh, because I'm a woman or because, of this or whatever, that this is why people are saying this. At the end of the day, have you listened to the tapes? Do you know, does it really sound bad? Or are you just using that as excuse to not do your job? So that's how I have always, approached any and everything that people have said. Trying not to assume the worst of them, but listening to what they said and then filtering through it and then figuring out, that maybe they are telling the truth, about what they saw, what they heard in the program. So I would encourage you, to do the same. Actually, you both to do the same. If there is any kind of criticism or anything, you have some things on the surface, but listen to what people have to say and just determine, are they really telling the truth just in a funky way? And then, make it to where they don't say anything, like they said, make your haters your motivators, make it to where they don't have anything to say, but good job next time.
I always appreciate good constructive criticism because that helps me take a step back and reflect and work on what I do need to work on. I think everyone should be aware of that and not take things so personally. And that's just something I'm learning myself. I don't really take things too personal, but I also like to challenge myself and grow to make myself grow and stuff.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Because I will say I definitely reached out for like help building my current program because this school didn't have a prior program whatsoever. And I definitely was like, hey, if it sounds bad, let me know because I got a parry too.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that before. Oh, I just got this rating because because my kids look like this or because, and I'm the one that says, have you listened to the tapes? Have you heard the feedback yet? And if the answer is no, I don't have anything to say to you other than stop complaining and do your job. So, yeah. But so Tina, she just texted me and she said she lost the Wi-Fi. She was wondering if we were still on. So I just told her we were. But if there's nothing else, we can definitely wrap it up and I can let her know that I appreciate you both showing up today and coming. And hope to see you both at GMEA.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, Dr. Rhoden.
Thank you,
All
Dr.
right.
Rhoden.
You're welcome. Feel free to reach out if you need anything.
All right.
Okay. Take
Okay.
care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.